Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Federico Talks Watches. Today, public service announcement. I'm going to talk about the new tariff, how it's going to affect my business, my business and my customers, and how I think it's going to affect the watch market. Now, of course, before we get started, customary wristwatch check. Today I'm wearing my H. Moser Pioneer, green dial on an orange Moser strap. Perfect summer watch, kind of matches the polo, love it. And also guys, don't forget to check out delraywatch.com. A bunch of new watches have come in stock at pre-tariff pricing. You'll know exactly what that means in a couple minutes. Now I'm going to preface this by saying this is obviously a very political subject, but I am not going to give my opinion on tariffs or anything political. I'm just going to give my opinion on how I think it'll affect specifically the watch market and what I, as a business owner and watch collector, plan to do about it. Please, no political discussion in the comments. This is not the forum for that. We're here to talk watches. But as you may have heard, there is a new tariff specifically on Switzerland at 39%. The EU was at 10%, now it's at 15%, Switzerland's at 39%. And of course, when you import product, what matters not so much is where you're importing it from, but the country of origin of the product, and most watches come from Switzerland, so currently at 39%. I will also say this supposedly can change by Thursday if the Swiss president comes to a deal with President Trump, but that is yet to be seen. However, we have been dealing with 10% tariffs for quite some time now, and it has not been easy. Watches that have a larger margin, we as Delray Watch have absorbed most of the cost. Watches with a lower margin have gotten a little bit more expensive just because some watches have, 10-15% margins, while others have 30. So, 10% really depends on the watch. But for the most part, prices have gotten a little bit more expensive. I wouldn't say massively, but a little bit. At 39%, which I don't think is going to be the ultimate tariff. In fact, I have a shipment waiting to come to the United States, and I'm not shipping it until Thursday to figure out what happens. But at 39%, there's no two ways about it. I can't absorb it. I can't even absorb any more than I'm already absorbing. I'm going to raise my prices. Either I'm going to raise my prices or I'm just going to import less watches. Now, to give you guys an idea, just under 50% of the watches at Delray Watch, I import from buyers, or rather sellers and dealers abroad. So, a few things can happen. If it stays at 39%, I think realistically, no way to absorb that hit. So I'll be importing way less watches. I'll have less inventory. It'll be harder for me to replace inventory, so prices are definitely going to go up. Not because I want to, but it's just a necessity at that point. However, I don't think it will stay at 39%. This is pure speculation. Let's say Switzerland strikes a deal and it's 15% like the rest of Europe. Even at 15%, at 10% I could just about absorb most of it. At 15%, absolutely not. I would still have to raise prices. Now, I think at 15%, I would still be importing a significant amount of product, but that product would be more expensive to me, and I would sell it for a higher price. So basically, what am I trying to say is worst case scenario at 39%, there's going to be way less watches, and they're going to be more expensive. Or if we get 15% like the rest of Europe, there's going to be slightly less watches, and watches are still going to be slightly more expensive. On a product with a gross margin of between 12 and 35%, depending on the watch. Absorbing 15 to 39% is very difficult in most cases. I don't want prices to go up, because if they do go up, obviously I'm going to lose business. Less people can afford my product. Overall, this is bad for me and for watch collectors. Raising prices is not something I want to do, but it may very well be a necessity to survive. And it's not like I can even say, well, let me sell American watches instead, because American watches aren't really a thing. Even Hamilton is made in Switzerland. So whether we have to raise prices a little bit, about 5%, or we have to raise prices significantly because we can't import at all because tariffs are at 39%, that is yet to be seen. But there is definitely a shift that's going to happen, I would say, in the next 30 to 60 days. And I don't think it's going to be a positive one for the watch market. However, that's just my opinion. I'll make an updated video when I have updated information. But as a watch dealer, a business owner, I just want to be transparent. I'm probably going to have to raise prices, and I'm probably going to lose customers. It is what it is. I got to take care of Delray. I got to take care of myself. I have to take care of my staff and navigate this the best way possible. But yeah, the next 30 to 60 days are going to be interesting. I'll let you know how it goes. Anyway, guys, thank you so much, and take care.